What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the classic minimap in Modern Warfare 2, some controversial changes, and even some things you may have missed. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and make sure you have notifications on to stay up to date with everything going on in Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, Warzone Mobile, and any other future Call of Duty as well. Now, as a reminder, the PlayStation Early Access Beta is now live for those that digitally pre-ordered the game or got a code for the beta itself. The open beta for PlayStation, however, does begin September 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific. For those out there that did not pre-order the game and did not get a code whatsoever, it'll be open to all PlayStation players. But then next weekend, once the early access begins for Xbox and PC, PlayStation will also get access to the game at the same time, and it'll be open for PS4 and PS5 regardless of pre-order or even a code. Now, after having played Modern Warfare 2 for a couple of days, and after having played the beta a little bit, I know it's been a crazy week and the job's still not finished. We got some more work to take care of. I played a couple of games of the beta, and I still have the same belief regarding the minimap, which is that it's such an interesting change that I feel like the community will eventually adapt to. I'm not saying that I'd prefer it to be that way, but I gotta respect Infinity Ward for sticking to their guns on a change like that. I mean, I think if they get some data that says that so many few people are playing the multiplayer because of that reason, then they'll revert it, at least in my opinion. But if the player base stays strong, people keep playing all the seasons, if they keep leveling up weapons, buying bundles, then I just don't see the minimap actually changing in this game. Now, we had a similar controversy to this in MWII, where again, enemies that shoot unsuppressed weapons wouldn't appear on the minimap unless there's a UAV or an advanced UAV of some sort. And I think this is something that fans definitely did not like, but I just don't know if anyone's voices were loud enough in terms of numbers, in terms of data behind the scenes, to justify reverting on a change that Infinity Ward feels confident about. Now, what's interesting though is the Bird's Eye Ultimate perk, which you unlock in-game just through playing, and it's the closest you'll get to a traditional minimap here in Modern Warfare 2. Now, what I find really interesting though is that Infinity Ward put out this perk almost with that potential backlash in mind to the minimap change, which is already happening right now on the internet. So it's like they put this in for those people that really want a traditional minimap, and I really respect that. But that also has me thinking that that'll be the only solution to this new problem that people have. And I said it on stream at CODNX that this isn't a make or break for me. I'm a very specific type of player, and my playstyle isn't dictated by the minimap. That's just me. I'm a runner and gunner. I like playing pretty aggressively, running SMGs. So the minimap isn't a problem for me. And that's just my opinion. I was not paid to say that. I can promise you that one. I certainly don't mind it, but I think for the players that want an old minimap back, the perk is probably all you're going to get with that. But like I was saying earlier, if some data actually comes through that says so many people hate this change and they're not playing the game because of it, then they'll revert it. But I don't think they'll even get to that point to where that happens. But this is still a beta, and a lot of changes can absolutely happen from now until the end of October, so also keep that in mind. Now, the craziest part about this update, though, wasn't what we just went over. It's the fact that we had CharlieINTEL that came out with some breaking news earlier that he wanted to tweet something out for the sake of transparency. In the June build we got to play of MW2, red dots were enabled on the minimap. We were told that was a bug and not intended, and then it was disabled. I hope Infinity Ward would reconsider it. The game played quite nice with it on. And that's the thing, right? The fact that it was built with it and then now it's removed has me thinking that maybe it just wasn't a bug, but it was just a design choice. That they don't want to make it seem like they're reverting on too many things that they felt passionate about in 2019, and they want to keep a lot of those changes with the sequel, because this is, again, a sequel to MW19. But that's weird, man. If it's a bug, I mean, I'm not an engineer or a game dev. I can't explain how that really makes sense, but I'm really curious how Activision will respond to people knowing about this now. And because of this report coming out, will they make a change to the minimap by like weekend 2 of the beta, or at least by the launch of the game? That's really fascinating to me. Now, although we can remedy the situation at this moment by using the Bird's Eye Ultimate perk, there are some other changes that I also want to discuss. I mean, one of the other bigger ones that I've seen trending everywhere has to do with no slide canceling, the MWII spamming, and the way it works is this, right? The saved state for a magazine is when it is removed, meaning you cannot cancel the reload after that point. It will force you to finish it regardless. Now, this is a change that I could see being used a lot in Warzone and DMZ, Spec Ops, and of course maybe in the future zombies on this engine. That ability to continue reloading your weapon where you left off if you switch to another weapon and cancel that reload animation. So that's cool, but then for multiplayer, what that does is it cancels out people's ability to do that MWII spamming, the slide cancel, and the meta movement that's been around for the last couple of years. Now, it's already been confirmed that slide canceling was already a bug in MW 2019 that was exploited to become meta movement, and that of course transferred over to Warzone because Warzone's on the MWII engine in the same application. So that's what happened, and Cold War didn't have it, obviously. There was still some ways to sweat and do some sliding and whatnot, and that was meta for CDL and whatnot, but looking at Vanguard, which had a watered-down version of slide canceling, it still had it, but you could tell it wasn't a bug that time. And this time around, they've completely revolutionized the way movement works entirely, and as of right now, I'm down for it. There could be some tweaks made, which we're going to talk about in a second, but this has people upset, and that's the thing, right? All they did was go back to traditional movement, so to speak, and then put a nice fresh coat of paint on top of that with some other features that we're about to discuss, which then, in hand, removed some of those broken features like slide canceling and whatnot. So that's really what happened here. It really doesn't bother me, because if anything, that was one of my criticism of 2019, and I said it on the podcast recently. I'm just not a fan of the fact that an exploit could somehow become meta movement, and if you're not doing that, you're at a disadvantage against players who've been practicing that and hurting their thumbs, breaking their controllers for the past couple of years. That never made sense to me. I don't want to break my nice controller doing that, so I'm happy that that's gone. Now, I saw a lot of questions regarding footsteps, and I'm sure you've played the beta by now, so you know that footsteps are fairly loud in the game. And maybe that's almost the reason why there's no point in having a red dot on the mini-map, at least in their eyes, because you can hear people so damn well. But then there's dead silence, which is still a field upgrade. It is not a perk like people out there wanted, and I don't think they're going to revert on that change either. I think the game is a bit too far in development to turn dead silence into a perk. I know you guys probably think otherwise, but I just don't believe they're going to revert that at all whatsoever. When you pop dead silence, though, and that's a bit of an activation button press. It is not like dead silence in 2019 or even Warzone, where you just pop it and it's on and boom, you go. You have to do this whole animation for it to begin, and it takes you a minute before you can even use it. So I just see this being one of those complaints that kind of surfaces every time Call of Duty tweets or CharlieINTEL. I see that being a reoccurring thing for the rest of the year, but it's like I said earlier, and I will stress it 100 times more, the game is still in beta. There is some time before the game comes out, and you never know what could change from now until the end of October. Now, another thing that I find interesting is the shock stick, which, as CharlieINTEL said, it's a bizarre equipment because there's so many scenarios where the auto hipfire lets you win the fight without doing anything. So when you would think that you're screwed by being shocked, the person who might have thrown it at you, maybe walking up to you, will end up getting killed by your hipfire that automatically starts spraying when you're shocked by the stick. So it's almost like you're at a disadvantage from using it, and I do feel like so many few people will actually use this piece of equipment because of that, to the point where they're going to have to revert on how that works. When you get shocked and it starts spraying everywhere, they're going to have to change that a little bit. I get having a way to counter the enemy when you're shocked, because I think like in Black Ops 2, for example, shock charges were super annoying. It was probably my least favorite part of the game itself, and there was no counter to it, really. You were just screwed. So I get offering a countermeasure to that. I really do. But then with the way it's sprayed, maybe that could be nerfed, because the way it sprays, you're almost always going to get that kill on that person that might be rushing you as you're shocked. But speaking of Black Ops 2, I also said it live on the COD Next live stream, this game really feels like MW19 and Ghost had a baby, but then Treyarch somehow educated that baby with Black Ops 2. So the game itself, in terms of philosophy, almost feels like Infinity Ward doing Black Ops 2 here in 2022. That's the vibe I've been getting. I think visibility, the color of the maps, just the atmospheres, it really strikes as a Treyarch experience, but it's also such a more refined MW19 with a lot of features that I'm surprised have also come back from COD Ghost. I mean, look at the slide and the dolphin dive. I think that's great to have both, but as I pointed out very clearly yesterday during COD Next, I'm like, look, the way the sliding works, you're not going to want to do it to get into a gunfight. You might want to do it to get out of one, and the dolphin dive throws you pretty far to where you're going to probably use that even more than the sliding, because of the way that sliding has changed in this game. You're probably not going to want to use it too often, but the dolphin dive definitely comes in clutch, and has me thinking that Treyarch's next Black Ops will probably have the same movement, since it's already an MW2 anyway. Another question I also saw, which I'm sure you know this by now if you played the beta, lobbies do in fact disband. That's something that's here to stay, and I don't ever see that changing. I mean, I just think it's a shame, because back in the day, I met a lot of friends through consistent matches, you know, playing 5 to 6 consecutive matches in a row, and you really get to know somebody on your team, or you hear somebody funny on the other team, and you get to talk to them in the lobby, play another game with them, add them as a friend. I feel like the social aspect of that is gone now, but I understand why it's a feature that will definitely be here to stay now. But speaking of communication, Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 have cloud-based in-game features, allowing you to create channels to communicate with invited friends through voice or text. It works across consoles, PC, and even mobile. And this is fantastic because having a new way to communicate like this makes up for the fact that lobbies disband, because now there's at least an easier space to chat in instead of relying on PS messages or Xbox or Discord, whatever the case is. I love this is incorporated because with the confirmation that we're going to have cross progression with weapons and battle passes through MW2, Warzone 2, and Warzone Mobile, having more ways to communicate while doing all that cross progression is gold in my opinion. And I'll talk more about this in my Warzone 2 video I have planned, but yes, for those out there that are curious about the whole Disney Plus like hub rumors, from my understanding, at least when I was on PC, you download the game and you have a Disney Plus like UI. Warzone 2 is there, but you can uninstall it so that you don't have to have both games connected that way. And I think that was also done so that whenever one game gets an update, it doesn't break the other, like we saw with MW19 and Warzone 1. But overall, when it comes to progression, there's been no comment about how that progression will work throughout MW2, its life cycle, DLC. I know the ranks in game right now do get referred to as military ranks, which is what we had in MW19. So I think we're gonna have the same type of officer rank system, just the way MW did it. If it was successful for that game, they're gonna do it again with this one. And I know Cold War had it to where you had classic prestige, kinda, but then every season would add in 4 more prestiges. And I still don't understand to this day the criticism about that, because I like having a reason to play a season even longer besides just getting gameplay or trying out the maps or doing the battle pass. I like having a goal to be like, let's at least hit level 200 this season so I can get all those 4 prestige icons. I actually like that. If the game launches with 10, 15 prestiges and then, 12 more get added over the other seasons that come out later, I don't see the issue with that. I think that's totally fine. So we'll see how this one works. It's still unclear how it is going to work, but looking at beta rewards now as well, for weekend 1, the level cap is of course level 15 and it'll probably remain that way, right? It's looking like weekend 2 will have a level cap of 30, and with the way they split up the rewards here on this image, it does look like there is going to be very specific division with how these weekends work. They want to make sure that you're getting certain rewards on one weekend and certain rewards on the other one. But you can get all the rewards for hitting level 15 right now. Here, as you can see, do a nice inspect of that blueprint. Everything is looking beautiful in the game. I'm absolutely loving the beginning of COD 2.0. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer and the COD Next event overall? Save your thoughts on Warzone 2 though. I have more videos coming out over the course of this weekend discussing everything you want to know about the next iteration of Warzone. Really hope you enjoyed, and peace out everybody.